What is going on, guys? Johnny on the track back with another video. Coming off a big weekend. We had a really big weekend. We obviously won with Christopher Bell. Told you to wait. I told you to wait. I think the number opened at like 4.5, 4-1. I said, wait, wait, that number will shift. If you got the final card via Johnny on the Track on Action Network at JOTT underscore podcast on X, you would know. You waited. We held strong. We got Christopher Bell either day of or basically right after practice and qualifying at plus 700, 7-1. Hit that. Hit Chris Buescher, which was given out on this show for a top five. So that was good as well. So a really big weekend, back to back ones. We've hit now two Bell bets in a row outright. So yeah, just on fire right now. And quite frankly, I think we're gonna get three in a row here. I feel good about Vegas. I'm ready for Vegas. I think there's a lot of ways we can go after Vegas. And yeah, I think overall we'll find the winner. But we got to make sure that we get the winner at the best odds for us. So, yeah, big weekend ahead. So, with that, we can get right into some of the bets I'm looking at. Let's start by just talking about Christopher Bell, who's looking to win four NASCAR Cup Series races in a row. That would be the first time since Larson did that in his championship season in 2021. He won four straight in the playoffs. So Bell trying to get four straight. And then we'll talk about Larson as well, the two favorites. So right now, Larson 4-1, Bell 425. I have on Rhode Island Sportsbook. Let's get you DraftKings number as well, just because I know a lot of you guys use DraftKings for your bets. So we've got 4-1 and 4-1 for Bell and Larson on DraftKings. So I'm gonna tell you the same thing I told you last weekend. Um, if you want to take that number for both those guys and just say, hey, I'm betting $200 on this race. I'm betting 100 on Larson and 100 on Bell. I'll tell you, fine, go for it. What I would advocate for is wait. Wait, 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 because I don't think that number, like somebody's going to move, whether it be Bell or whether it be Larson. I think those are going to be your two fastest cars. I think Bell is going to be exceptional in the long run. He usually is. And I think Larson is just going to be, consistent pretty much from short and long run. But I think the long run car is going to be Bell. I think Byron's going to be another good long run car. But in my opinion, Bell and Larson will be the two best cars. But somebody's odds are going to shift post practice and post qualifying. This is the first mile and a half. So we haven't seen a lot of these new teams like Aspire, like a front row. Even to a lesser extent with some of the speed we've seen out of Legacy. Like we haven't seen those cars and those teams on a mile and a half in 2025. So it'll be something interesting. Hopefully we can get like a guy like Hocevar who qualifies up front. Maybe a guy like Riley Herbst or Noah Gragson qualifies up front. And then some of those odds can shift a little bit and we can wait on Bell and Larson. But if you feel confident saying, hey, I'm taking those two guys and that's it. I wouldn't mind you taking them now, but I would advocate to wait. I think we can get some shift and get those guys closer to 6-1, maybe even 7-1, like we did with Bell. So that's my opinion on those. I'm going to give you my favorite bet right now. It's Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch. Remember Kansas, guys. Remember the playoff Kansas race. He was leading, he had speed, and one small mistake with Briscoe. He ends up spinning, crashing out. What? Did he actually end up crashing out or just spinning out? I kind of forget. I think he just spun out and actually finished pretty decent, like top 20. But he had the speed. He spun out trying to get around Briscoe and Ross Chastain, which we'll talk about him as well. Ross Chastain ended up winning that race. But Kyle Busch in the playoffs showed speed on a mile and a half. He's got speed right now from what we've seen early in this season. He's got confidence. He's got three top tens out of four. So he's been really, really good. Solid points days. I really think Kyle Busch is going to be, if there's going to be a guy that steals the show, I think Kyle F. and Busch is going to have a really good chance of doing that. That is my favorite bet. He opened at 20-1. He has bet all the way down now to 16-1 on Rhode Island Sportsbook. I think he's still 18-1 on DraftKings. Let's get that up. And again, I always write these down, but it doesn't matter because I always want to get the most up-to-date number for you guys. So 16 to 1 on both sites for me. So that's probably where he is right now. He did again open up at 20 to 1. I saw that this morning. Um, but to me, Kyle Busch, confidence high, speed looking good. The last mile and a half really that we saw him on, take away that Vegas race. I kind of throw that out, just how that unfolded. Um, and I just dropped my phone. Apologies there. With Logano winning that on basically just a all or nothing strategy call on that Vegas race. But in the playoffs, we saw him at Kansas, which is a cookie cutter track, pretty much the same track, really. Kansas and Vegas at this point, the way the way you run it, and all that good stuff. So I like Kyle Busch here a lot. Second driver, I'll mention Ross Chastain. I just mentioned that he beat Kyle Busch in that Kansas playoff race. Had a great car. You know, I, I don't. I probably wouldn't bet him money line. I'm leaning more towards the top five. But at this point in the career of Ross Chastain and where he is at Trackhouse, the mile and a halfs are his bread and butter. All his best results last year came at mile and a halfs. So he'll have a shot, but I like a top five for him. He finished seventh in the spring Vegas race last year, and then fourth in the summer fall Vegas race last year. So a seventh and a fourth. He obviously won at Kansas in the playoffs. Always have been, again, good on those kind of cookie cutter mile and a half tracks. That's where he shows that he's one of those top guys. So Ross Chastain for a top five, love that bet. If you're leaning towards money line because you like the number, I'm not going to tell you don't do it. It's 22 to 1. So I expect Ross to get a win this year. And I think this is one of his best opportunities, but I just think there's going to be better cars. So I like him for a top five. No number on that. Interesting. Just a top three number, which would be 550. So he's probably going to be around plus, I don't know, 350 for a top five. So pretty good number there to get Ross at. Bowman top 10. Bowman money line is plus 2,500. I like him for a top 10. Anything from around minus 135 and less, I'll take it. So minus 135, minus 120, even money. You're going to get your top 10 bet. You're getting a Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolet, right around even money. So I think you take that. He's obviously won here before. I actually was at the race that he won, albeit an overtime restart, but he had a good car. He was running top five most of that day. I remember it clear as day. And he also had a top five here in the playoff race not too long ago. So great track for Bowman. Should have a great car again. Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolet. He's had a great season too. Three top tens in four races. One of only three guys to do that. We mentioned one of the other guys, Kyle Busch. Bowman locked in at this point. Good speed. And I just feel like overall, to get him close to even money for a top 10, which I assume that's what it's going to be, I think you take that bet. I like Bowman a lot. Um, Two kind of flyer bets that I think you can take, top 10. Maybe, one of these guys you can take as the top finishing manufacturer. So I'm going to start with Riley Herbst, worth a flyer. Vegas kid, born and raised in Vegas, won here in Xfinity. Great results always at Vegas in the Xfinity Series, and now he's with a team that's had really good success on mile and a half. Remember how good they've been at Kansas, which is the comp track here. So Riley and Bubba Wallace, obviously, won in a 2311 car at Kansas. So, in the next gen era, what we've seen from 2311, they've been really good on mile and a halves. I think Riley Herbst in that car on that team at a favorable track should have a good result here. And the other guy I'm looking at is Noah Gragson. Another Vegas kid, good friends with Riley Herbst, top four, top 10. I would take them both. Five top tens last year on large ovals. He did not have a top 10 in a short track. The other top tens for him were on super speedways. So five top tens last year on large ovals, sixth place at Vegas last year in this very race. Look, I don't know what front row will look like at this track, but I do know that Stewart-Haas Racing, shouldn't have been good last year. on mile and a halves, and he found a way to get five top tens on these style tracks. And now they weren't all mile and a halves, but high speed tracks, if you will. Nashville would be one of those. Dover, another one of those. So I like that, and he's also bringing his crew chief over from Stewart Haas Racing, Drew Blickensderfer. So he's got his crew chief. I think with that, obviously the Penske alliance is a little bit tighter this year, so we'll have to see what they look like on mile and a halves. But again, favorable track for the hometown kid, has had good results both in Xfinity and now in Cup. Definitely something to build on for Noah Gragson. So I like him and Herps. And Herps, like, I would take a couple flyers on on Riley Herps, maybe even like a top five. Um, I just would. I mean, he's plus 30,000 to win the race, and he's in a 2311 Toyota. Like that's that's a little crazy to me. So overall, I mean, those are what I'm giving out at this moment. So Kyle Busch for the win, Ross Chastain top five, Alex Bowman top 10, Riley Herbst top 10, Noah Gragson top 10, top Ford. I think you can mix and match a little bit. Maybe you want to try Ross Chastain with a money line. I'll tell you, go for it. I think Reddick is another guy that I wouldn't hate if you go after now, right around the 6.5, 7-1 number. Overall, I feel like he's a guy that, again, you might want to wait on. We might be able to get him closer to 8-9 to 1. And then, some value on the board, if I'm just throwing it out there, Denny Hamlin, plus 850. I don't really think that number is going to change for Denny Hamlin. Maybe he gets down to, I don't know, 9.5. But honestly, I think Denny's going to sit still right around the 8.5 number. And I think that's pretty good value. But to me, you know, I think Larson and Bell are going to be the two cars to beat. So in the end, when you see the final card, Johnny on the track on Action Network at JOTT_podcast on Twitter and X, you're going to see one of those, if not both of those guys on that card, as well as Kyle Busch in these bets here, because I'm going to play some of these now as soon as the top 10 lines drop. Herbst, Gregson, I think, if they qualify well, those odds will only shift in the book's favor, especially, when you just look at Riley Herbst, who's got the third worst money line odds at plus 30,000. So he'll be way down there for a top 10. And I think he's a guy that, definitely want to look at. Definitely want to look at for a top 10 early on in the week. So as always, thank you guys for watching. Appreciate it. Hit that like button for this video. It goes a long way. And hit that subscribe button down below if you love motorsports and you love betting. And as I always say, let's get out there and let's go win some money.